Today I'm going to be modeling a negative temporary supply shock. So first, what you want to do is you want to label your graph. We want to start with labeling E1, which is going to be the long run equilibrium, and then Y star, which is initial output or equilibrium output, and then P1, which is equilibrium price. And then we can just label what this means. So E1, like I said, is going to be the initial long run equilibrium. And then for our example, we are going to say that the price of oil increased. So we're just going to go ahead and write that. Price of oil increasing. And then this is going to cause the short run aggregate supply curve to shift to the left or to decrease. And then we'll just go to our graph and we'll show that with the arrows going to the left and then drawing our new line. And we will label this one SRAS2 and then labeling our new equilibrium, our short run equilibrium, E2. And then, like I said, E2 is going to be new short run equilibrium. And then we will just label each of the outputs. Output 2 is Y2, and then price 2. And then you can see that output went down and price increased. And then we'll just write that to the side. P2 is greater than P1. And then Y2, output 2, is less than the initial output, Y1. So this will tell us that the economy is in a recession. And so how will this affect the economy in the long run? So we will show that on our second graph, how the economy is affected in the long run. So we will start by drawing our SRAS2 curve from the first problem. And then just go ahead and label all of the things that we had labeled on the first graph just to keep ourselves organized and to kind of help us continue to visualize what we are looking at and understanding what we're doing. Then we know that obviously we're in a recession for this example. So when the economy is in a recession, we know that there is low demand for inputs. Go ahead and write that out. And this means that input prices are going to drop or decrease. And so we know that input prices decreasing is going to shift the SRAS curve to the right. It is going to increase. So then we will label this new curve SRAS3. And then we can see that it shifted back to E1, and we're going to create a new label for this point, E3, and then for the output, Y3, for the price, P3. So what we can see is that the new equilibrium is equal to the original equilibrium, and that trend is also followed with the outputs and with the prices. E3 is our new long run equilibrium. Okay. And then, like I said, the outputs and the prices are both going to be equal to the original. And this tells us that a temporary supply shock will only shift the short run aggregate supply curve, but will not shift the long run aggregate supply curve. So in the end, the economy will go back to the original equilibrium, whether it is negative or positive, as long as it's only the short run that is affected.